All right. So we will start at 6:01. And did everybody review the minutes? If you did, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a
Accept them.
motion to accept them.
Second. You. Any comments?
No question?
All right. Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, I see that was easy.
I have to abstain.
Abstain.
You
Okay.
don't actually have to.
I understand that.
Okay,
I like abstain.
And I voted yes, even though I wasn't,
thank you.
because I also understand.
I just don't want somebody coming back later.
No, I get it. It's a,
Yeah,
yep.
this one was invalid. POCD is canceled.
Because the public is just so into
Yeah,
this.
that's right.
I know many people that weed through the minutes of all these meetings.
And there they are, right there.
All right, so hopefully everybody got the newest section and a chance to read it. So I don't know, if John, you want to go through comments as you do this and then ask?
Yeah, well, so broadly speaking, so the new stuff starts on page 11, I believe.
Yep, 11 to 16.
And again, so if you look at we're basically following the outline, which is on page 2. And sort of trying to write this thing in chunks. And a lot of the writing obviously is sort of summarizing, distilling, blah, 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 of what has already been sort of produced. So so this includes an extraordinarily brief history of Woodstock. Some
Yeah, you know what I mean?
some of our demographic details, and recognizing that any analysis of demographics is necessarily a moment in time, like I'm not going back to, the 1680s and tracking, back in, the 1730s, did you know that 45% of our people, like, it's, with all due respect, is not important. To the POCD as it stands.
Thank you.
So just looked a little bit at, our age distribution, our racial makeup, some of the actual population projections, household size decline, which is, I think, one of the most interesting, sort of, housing and population demographics. And then a little bit of our housing profile, and again, nothing in here I would suspect remotely surprises anybody, who's lived in town for more than a hot second. Just, it's very heavily single family, very heavily owner occupied. And as such tends to be wealthier than either the region or the state as a whole, just because the state as a region or a whole tends to be a little bit more renter focused and a little bit more multifamily. We are old in Woodstock. I was surprised because in 2 consecutive municipal profiles, our median age jumped like 6 years, from like 43 to 49. And I actually called Advanced CT and talked to their statistical people. I mean, is this correct? Are we really 49? Whereas the state as a whole, I think, is 41.
Yeah, I think it's 41.
So what's that?
When were we lower?
Just a couple of years ago. And there is some statistical sampling happening there. Because, the non census years, they're using a 5-year sliding
Was it a
window.
couple years ago during COVID? Because we had a ton of families with homeschool kids, which would have dropped the age
Yeah.
down drastically.
That could be, so this could be the correction after COVID, like it could have gotten younger during COVID and we.
I'm just thinking,
bounce
I know a bunch of
back
families
as
that
much
came
as
in with
a
like
bunch of
3,
old
4
people
kids
can
and they're now gone from New York. They didn't
Yeah.
stay. So in that cusp, it kind of.
But it's remarkable, and I would say notable, that we are 8 full years older than the
Yeah.
state.
The Commission on Aging is using 44.
But that's the.
Yeah, so it's, that may be the 2020, it's like, check the data source,
And
right?
was it
So,
mean or median?
and
Cause
Yeah, that makes a difference.
it makes a big
Yeah.
difference whether
Whatever-
it's median
whatever's
or
compared to the-
mean.
yeah, because we do have a guy that's 247 years old, and that just shifts the whole thing. Anyway, enough about Fred Rich.
Oh, okay. Smack.
So,
Now, are we live?
I'm sure he'll love hearing from me. Okay, and then I did
Say,
I did a very, very brief profile of some of the financial and employment educational stuff, which is again, moment in time stuff and really just ideally serves to do some little table setting. And then until we get into the more topical stuff. So I'm happy to answer any questions, or if people feel like, you know, I need to add 4 more pages about Woodstock's illustrious history, that's fine, but the goal here was to get the data out there, get it out of the way and allow us to move on.
May I make one request?
Please.
The pie charts for the housing profile.
Yeah.
So I was just talking to Amy, I assume in terms of the legend, so owner and renter would apply to all of the pie charts.
Yes,
But
the
they-
color scheme?
Yes.
Yes.
Then vacant and other
Uh-huh.
just applies to single family and multifamily, is that correct? And then vacant,
It's
Yes,
almost like
they're-
there's
they're-
2 different.
Other-
it's right, so they're merged, the darkest gray is those things merged for the bottom two.
for the bottom
2
two.
rows,
And then
yeah.
the last two, the vacant.
There was, I guess, enough data there that, and I think, yeah, there's enough,
It was just a little confusing because it showed all 5 at the bottom.
right,
But the first 2 are applicable to everything, whereas the last 3.
right, I think that's just a data visualization thing, I think, because in some of the, like, if you look at the middle, the Northeast Connecticut single family, basically
Right.
the pie in the very middle. That, you know, the vacant or other, one of those 2 categories, subcategories could be extraordinarily
Small,
thin.
right, right.
So
right,
I think it
right.
just made more sense for them to aggregate, but yeah.
Okay, no, that's,
I mean, if it's, you think it's worth like a tiny little note there.
maybe, yeah,
We're just
just,
separating them, so. I
Uh-huh.
don't know.
it's just something, cause at first I was like, well, and I think because those bottom 6, the single
Yeah.
family and the multifamily, because they have that, essentially that white line that separates.
Yep, yeah.
The darker purple from the darker gray. At first I was like, wait, is that other?
Sure.
You
So
know?
actually, yeah, so I think, I mean, this is obviously it's an image I grabbed.
Yeah, it's.
I could probably slice and dice the imagery a little
It's
bit.
not the end of the world.
Yeah, no, that's a good,
Something that was.
no, yeah.
Thank you.
and I have copy edit comments, but I'm just gonna send them to you directly rather than waste time
Okay.
or take time, because it's not a waste.
It's, well, if you're advocating against the Oxford comma, it is a waste of time because,
Oh, no, I'm again, John.
Okay.
I'm on the same
all right,
page.
I just want to make sure. I don't want you to, I don't want you to waste your time
No.
by wasting my time
No,
having to
it
defend this.
was things like the capitalization of the word town
Yeah.
in an inappropriate time.
Yep.
That kind of stuff.
I tend to be of the A.A. Milne school of capitalizing letters in the middle of sentences.
Oh, okay, but,
But yeah,
and I love poo too,
Yeah.
but,
but I am a planner of very small brain, so that's,
so, anyway, I will just
Sure, thank
send
you.
those to
Mhm.
you.
It's a great one. On page 13, the bar graphs that show the racial breakdown,
yes, ma'am.
I assume Woodstock. So there's no numbers. Would it be 0 for Asians? and
It's
Black?
probably less than 0.5%.
Okay.
So it'd be rounded down, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that isn't to say there aren't any,
correct,
but,
okay.
but,
Not enough to.
right.
To make.
Register.
Yeah, no, but can we add? I'm sure this is also a graph you.
Yeah, I snagged.
screenshotted.
This is, yeah.
Is
these
there
are-
a way to put like zeros or
Put an asterisk. and
essentially,
say
Oh,
you know,
like
like,
fewer than 1% or something
Yeah.
like that?
yeah.
Sure.
Fewer than a half.
Can I write like some of my best friends are Asian or something?
Sure.
My tie did move out of town.
Okay.
Mine are far less, mine are more questions instead of nitpickies, I guess. Educational attainment.
Yeah.
Is there, where would education? Is it worth mentioning that we're one of 2 schools in the state that has a specifically unique education system, or is that not the place to do it in this type of demographic?
I would put that in. Develop. In a couple of chapters.
Okay, I just wanted
Yeah,
to, you know what I mean? Like-
because I think we would, it's definitely worth sort of describing and appreciating the structure of Woodstock Academy.
Or not appreciating it.
Or-
just-
Yeah.
All right, so, cause
Yes.
it's attainment, but I was just questioning.
Yeah,
kinda
no,
like
this is,
where
this
that
is
fit.
not about the current school
Yep.
system, it's about the
Perfect.
population at large, yeah.
And do we have like a accurate or guesstimate number of like jobs that are actually in town? I mean, this is
Yeah, you know what,
employment,
that's-
but
Yes, yes, I should put that in, that I was feeling like there was something missing there, but yes, that is one thing. There's actually, employment, yeah, I'm gonna do,
so just something about the number of jobs that actually exist in the town or just a rough reference to that, I think.
Or maybe, the top employers in the town. Like used to come out the community profile. I don't know if
Yeah.
that still exists.
yeah, right, yeah, we could use that.
I don't need a ton more, but I just feel like a
Yeah.
little more,
There's,
and then similarly in income, do we have like some sort of breakdown about, you know, how percentage below the median and above, like where Woodstock income and that median line is? Cause
wait,
it's an
so
interesting.
give me, wait, where are we talking here?
So income, like
Yeah.
I love what you have there, but
Yeah.
it says, you know, the median income is this. And the state. So to me, like. Or no, poverty is the next one, never mind, it's the next section.
Are you looking at the last paragraph on that page 15? Because it's like kind of confusing. The median household income is the same as the per capita income, because that's how it's reading to me. Is that it, or you're just trying to state?
Oh, no,
It
I
beats
just,
the higher average of the state.
I didn't realize that poverty was the next section, and as we were doing income, I wanted to talk about poverty, but it's the next section, so disregard that completely, because I was trying to kind of differentiate the part, but it's in the next part.
And my point is that phrase, as well as their per capita income, does it belong where it is? Because it implies that. It's
Yeah, because both of them do.
right, but it's the median household income of Woodstock residents of 104,500 exceeds the average of the state of 93. That is a complete sentence that, as well as part, I don't know if it fits there.
Oh,
Because the per capita income is a different number, isn't it?
I would think so, but
Yeah.
I have no problem with that, the way it is.
So I just wanted to show you guys this. I'm gonna put this in on the screen right now. This is this US Census tool called On the Map, which does a variety of workforce-based visualizations. And so this is actually our workforce flow as of 2022. So there are, like, we're a bedroom community. We have more than 3,400 jobs, or people living in Woodstock, working outside Woodstock. 1,100 people work in come into Woodstock for employment that don't live in Woodstock, which is a surprisingly high number.
well, when you think about
The schools and.
The schools.
the school's line master,
master,
Jeffco and Rogers.
Rogers.
Hundreds, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then, you know, nearly 500 live and work in town.
I like that graphic.
So
I like that,
I'll
but, yeah.
throw that in. I just made a note to myself. That's so,
Yeah, that would. Make me,
yeah, I think
Oh,
that rounds up that bit of data too. So I'll add that. I'm sorry, I missed some of the discussion about median versus average income.
No, I think we
Are we
resolved
okay?
it.
Okay.
It's a stylistic dispute, but I'm on your side. So it's okay.
Which is to say I slapped it together and you're cool with that?
No, no, you didn't, not in that sentence.
Okay, so that will be on the map will be added.
That Alice jump scares me.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, what did you say?
The Alice
at the
jump.
top of page 16.
That's
Alice, and
from
again, that's-
17 to
yeah.
29%.
Yeah.
Alice is like people that are what, 3 paychecks away from home.
It's essentially
Yeah,
like
it's
essentially working poor,
Yeah,
you know, or yeah, right near the bone.
paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah,
That's pretty quick too.
Yeah, but that was a big jump, 17 to
Yeah.
29%. Um.
This COVID was fine.
Right.
Stayed and somebody says, "Hey."
Is it worth, when we talk about fiscal condition and revenue, our main part is taxes, is it worth putting in that we do rely on state and government funding also, because that's really the other income, or is that not? something
yeah,
that-
sure, I think that's,
It's just a question, you don't have to, I'm pulling
yeah, well, that, yeah, you
Or
can,
what town or city does it in some form.
yeah, what, there, that's,
Okay.
it's sort of a given, but yeah, yeah.
If there's a higher percentage or something that you can.
Yeah, no, if Woodstock received notably higher or lower percentages than other towns, it's a good question. I'm not actually sure how.
Well,
our
I
aid-
only say that
how our
because
aid flows.
we're at this, we aren't qualified for so much of the funding because we are a rich town.
Right.
So if we rely on, state funding and taxes, but we don't qualify for a lot of state
State
funding
funding.
because of our population, it's just a general statement. I didn't know if it would go here or
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I could, yeah, I'll add a little sentence about that.
Up to your discretion, just a thought.
I think it's a good thing to add because it would be something that we would need to take into account in terms of a plan for the future. Because we are reliant. I mean, with some of the cuts that are happening in terms of state dollars, they are going to impact what Woodstock can and will do in the future. Unless something changes in terms of how other.
But everybody is in the same boat too.
Sure, but if we're not, if the plan of, I guess. If the plan of conservation and development basically ultimately comes out and says. We don't wanna add businesses, we don't wanna add all these other potential sources of revenue. Then the fact that we are losing state funding would
Right.
become very much a relevant piece of the puzzle.
Which, and you queued me up to say out loud something I've been thinking about. We rely very heavily on this town, as most small towns do, on volunteers.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's
And as we
that would be a
age,
great future.
as we age.
yeah,
It's problematic.
The volunteers can no longer project. So, we retire.
Yeah.
So.
You're not getting up that.
That's when you, yeah.
So anyway, that's something that, it's not a unique to Woodstock issue,
Mm-mm.
but,
But it,
but it shows that we're thinking about it, that
I think that's,
as our
that's-
volunteer
Yeah,
population is declining.
right,
And we don't have, despite your very best efforts, a younger generation that recognizes that if you're gonna live here, you have to pay your time tax. And that's just something that,
yeah, that'd be great to have.
I think the other thing is that towns that say have police department, fire department,
Yeah,
water and
yeah,
sewer,
yeah,
they're likely getting funding from that from the state.
right.
Right,
And
that's what I mean.
you
we
don't get
don't
anything
qualify
for
for
that.
or that's some of these things, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. That's an excellent point. So that's the demographics stuff. Um. And I think so if you look back at the schedule, page 2. The next one is a big one. Where we're basically gonna plop the entirety of Gene's open space plan in here. But, have some discussion and like, so this next section where we get into preserve, develop, enjoy will be the substantive sections where we basically go with the big topics and set actual big goals and then lots of implementation recommendations. And so the first one is preserve, so natural resources, the open space plan, farmland preservation, historic preservation, etc. So this is, I'll be doing a lot of copy paste edit.
So how did everybody feel about the demographics? Is that, if we don't want it long like it has been in the past, is that enough? Here, we brought up some topics and we said where they would go, so that makes me,
Right.
with what I brought up, okay, it's gonna be addressed somewhere else, I'm good. It's, everybody else feels similarly that this is a good,
Yeah, I thought this was a good first draft. I think it's possible that as we go through preserve, develop, enjoy, there might be things that come up, as
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
case with the
Yeah.
volunteer base, that
Slide it
we
in.
may wanna
Mhm.
jump back into the demographics and just add something.
Yeah.
Depending on the topics, yeah, but I was very happy with that draft.
Yeah, so at this point, we're just looking for basically length, tone, level of specificity.
yeah, I like it, I think we all agree that pages and pages and pages of stuff that doesn't matter isn't getting us anywhere in our POCDs, so, yeah. So. If everybody's good, we'll go into our discussion topic, I guess, right? So economic development. In Woodstock. It's been a challenge for a long time. We're limited on a lot of things and the town in itself does not enjoy change. So, how do you balance? It's the same thing. The whole thing's gonna be about balance. For me, it's, the question is, what options do we have? The current economy in Woodstock is taxes and state federal funding before making any statements about what we think economic development should look like. The reality of our situation should be understood. You know what I mean? So like, what do we have now for economy and what options do we realistically have to work with? I think should be the starting of the conversation. And
Well,
perhaps,
let us take a step back. How are we defining economic?
okay, yeah. Good question.
I have a question about the demographics, and I've gone back to that with did that 3,000 people go out of town for work, but how many of them are home office based that are remote, working remotely? And how does that change that number? I mean, it's people working in town, they're not working for businesses in town that are taxable, but they work in town and they're paying. Presumably, their office is deductible, so they can write. They get taxed on their office space or whatever, I don't know, it's, how's
I
that?
think working at home was a challenge.
Wait, from a tracking and taxation standpoint, or what?
Well, just the idea that over 3,000 jobs are not Woodstock-based jobs, but many people work from home, they telecommute now, it's a different, how does that fit into this equation, the telecommuting?
Or where are they in the numbers?
Yeah.
Are they out of town or are they in town?
That's a good
Are they-
question. I would have to see how that
Yeah,
is asked. I would imagine it would be working in town because, yes, my business is headquartered in Boston, but I don't go to Boston,
Right. and then when I said it's gonna be a challenge, it's just a new concept.
Yeah.
Right,
Job
right.
still comes from out of town.
Right,
He's not a-
Yeah,
I think it almost somehow depends on the way it's reported,
Right, that's exactly
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and
because my
Yeah.
husband does both. Right, and for a time, I mean, everybody got to be much more remote and do much more work from home.
and I think that's only gonna grow in the future too, understanding what the numbers mean and how we define it is.
It has shrunk currently.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, because the employers who own buildings want the people in the buildings. So their buildings are not for naught.
It's, to a certain extent, and again, it depends widely, I think, on the nature of the work. And if you are working for a large corporation that allows you to work from home versus being an accountant or a massage therapist or something like that, that this is your business, right? For the former, I don't really know what the implications are, other than maybe leaning in to, since you can work remotely anywhere, why don't you live and work in a beautiful place? You know, like this is, and we've had a lot of these same discussions in Hampton, because there's no jobs in Hampton, but like
Yeah,
during COVID, like people were moving in because, which really has more implication for, like broadband internet, you know, like we want to make sure that we have the infrastructure, right? If we're talking about the latter, which is to say an accountant or a massage therapist or something like that, it's more about providing, well, having good home occupation regs, number one, but then also planning for some transition. So if you are an accountant and you work at a home, maybe, you know, you get busy and you need 2 or 3 other people. Okay, now we might need a real office. Where the hell are we gonna find a real office in Woodstock? Or, you know, you're the small manufacturer, you know, you bend pipe or something like that, whatever. What are the opportunities to grow your business and stay in Woodstock? That I think is much more interesting discussion and challenge of how we have organic growth and how do we foster that.
and I think, I'm listening to you and it's completely different, but I see all these places like Buell's Heavy Truck Engine Repair where people have grown their businesses and they sell it, and then it was a business and now it's private owned. It's like the cycle of things. I think we need to consider, if you do build something up, what happens when you're done with that? Is it gonna stay commercial or does it go back to residential? And like, how does that affect the value of things?
I thought once it was zoned for commercial, it always was commercial.
But it doesn't mean it's gonna be used for
Well,
No, but the
commercial.
potential.
Right.
Well, because we
have
don't,
plenty of
actually,
businesses
we
that
don't
used to
zone,
be.
we don't zone
Right.
Right,
really for commercial. We allow special permits to happen in.
Have a variance. Doesn't that commercial permit
I just
stay
looked at-
with the property?
yeah.
Yes.
I look around and I see lots of old businesses that were built up and now they're vacant or empty or just storage or something,
Mhm.
so I don't know where that fits into anything, but it's a pattern that I'm seeing in town. That's all. It's like the chicken coops, there used to be chicken coops everywhere, that was this huge industry.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now you see some that are falling down or whatever, but like I've always thought in my creative mind, if I had all the money and time, like, ooh, great, the chicken coop apartments, like, you know what I mean, like this kind of thing, and
So getting back to
Yeah.
defining economic development.
how do we define economic development? In Woodstock? I think that's the problem, I think we don't.
Well,
Well, I think
I-
the driver is that we don't have a lot of tax money in businesses to fund our budgets.
yes, well, and to that end, like, should we actually start by, like, what do we wanna get out of economic development? Like, what's the end goal? Cause I think a lot of times you say economic development to people in Woodstock and they're like, oh my God, you're gonna bring in a Walmart, you're gonna like destroy the rural charm. And like, yes, that is a way you could do economic development, but it doesn't have to be the only way, and it's not necessarily what we would want in terms of economic development for Woodstock, so I think it might be worth.
So you start by saying no big boxes.
Well, yeah, I mean, or, you know, like, what's your end game in terms of economic development,
Right.
period?
So like, we have agribusiness.
Right.
Is big part of our economic development, maybe not well profitable for the people doing it, but we have Tufts. We have Fosquettes, and those are all related to the agriculture business. They're support industries. And we have to have the critical mass in the agricultural sector to support those. Support industries so they'll stay in town. So it's a balancing game for that, and there's probably other, businesses that support, our agriculture as well.
Yeah, no, and I think things like that are good things to define. I think, I'm just thinking like, we maybe need to define. This is what we mean by economic development. We don't mean bringing in.
Well, one of the things that I think of is like, we have, wedding venues in town, we wanna make the town for tourists to come and visit, but we don't have any place for them to stay when they get here. So,
Okay, so we want to support our agricultural,
Businesses.
yeah.
Sector.
there's
Sure.
there's
Our
other thing about the
ideal.
agricultural hub, it was in the previous section.
We also want to enhance the town's
Ecotourism.
ability to bring in tourism.
Right,
Are there other things that we want to, like, do we want to try and increase the tax base that isn't, um, people?
Well, you don't wanna just go haphazard and say, well, it's a big business, let's get it.
Yeah, no, but is that a component or is that not a component at all?
So I've always, I think we all have different approaches. My approach is that you say, what industry works in town? Agriculture does, right?
Right.
What other industry, so light industry, that's just a fluke. If it fits somewhere, if it doesn't, but I think we should allow it if the fluke wants to come in, if someone wants to do it, because if I have tax numbers on like the light industry. But I see, we have like a wellness kind of spur, right? So we have acupuncture and we have. Could Woodstock focus on, agriculture and wellness? We have the inn, could they do spas? Could we bring in more of like, personal training or medical? I don't know, but like that realm, because it's low impact, it's high dollar.
Right.
Like you have enough stuff going on and people wanna come like a ladies weekend and they get a Airbnb, a house and they have, acupuncture and facials and, hiking and they can do, so. It's like, what people do you want to come here? What are they gonna spend their money on that we can support with our nature and our beauty and our charm?
As well as get something out of it.
Right, well, could you also, so. I think there are businesses in town that do not check any of those boxes, but people are still okay with them.
Yes,
Right? Like Line Master
absolutely.
does not check any of the boxes we
Mhm.
just
That's one of
said,
those fluke industries.
right?
And we're,
But why, I
But
guess,
that's an
another thing.
inherited thing. I don't think we'd be all warm and fuzzy about them moving in now.
Sure, but like, somebody driving through town, if you didn't know where Line Master was, there is
Yeah.
no way you would be
Oh,
able to
no.
be
and
like,
that's my problem. With the amount of money that Line Master brings into
Right.
our town, the amount of jobs, and the fact that. None of it bothers us. Why are we still saying, hell no, or still?
yeah, so I guess
It
my
could be
point
replicated
is,
somewhere else with the same impact.
Not without problems, we still have the
Right.
TCE and the groundwater.
Right.
So that's the help.
sure, but I guess my point is. Are we saying we would never, ever allow something like that again, or are we saying that we would allow that? But it would need to check some different boxes,
Very
right? So
specific.
like, it can't disrupt the rural charm and it needs to be, safe and clean and, and if they found a piece of property somewhere in the woods where nobody saw it, like, would it be okay?
And the tree huggers would be all upset.
Like labeling now, huh?
Oh,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
shots fired.
Airports on the market.
Yes,
They don't have to stay airports. I mean, so one of my personal approaches is, and it, comes from even owning a building, but it is. And it really comes from moving back to this town and learning how many giant old buildings there are. And let's be creative and put businesses into them. Because they're too big to be a new family house kind of thing. And we do have a significant number of them, but they are in that weird pocket of it's not a big business place, and it's of course not a just starting out of my home business. They're in between
Is
sizes.
Williston
'cause
still
they're-
offices,
What?
No, it's a private residence.
private residence now? Okay.
okay, so it sounds like. we don't want it to mess, whatever the business is. We don't want it to mess with the rural charm, and I keep saying that,
Correct.
right? We don't want it to be, create any like environmental issues,
Correct.
right? We don't want it to produce a lot of like light pollution and that kind of thing. It's a bonus if it supports the agriculture, and or tourism in the
Yes.
area, but it doesn't have to as long as it checks those other boxes.
Wait, tell me the other boxes again.
Doesn't affect
Environmentally friendly.
Environmentally friendly.
character,
What?
doesn't impact our rural character
Yeah.
and charm.
No
Okay.
impact on rural character or charm, and like doesn't have other negatives like a lot of
That's
light
true.
pollution or noise
Which to
pollution.
me, yeah, both of those things are environmentally
Right.
friendly, light pollution, land, noise pollution, lack of pollution.
Okay. I don't know,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
like,
we could talk
like,
about,
yeah, traffic generation, big
Traffic
parking lots,
generation.
these are like
Right.
the externalities of a.
Right.
yes,
That makes sense.
okay, I
Hours,
mean-
yeah, hours of
then
operation.
that would sort of define what we would be okay with,
Well, at least narrow it.
Right,
right?
so but take that, what we're okay with,
Yes.
and you need a certain size parcel to do that, right? If you're gonna
Right.
tuck it away, like, you know what I mean, it's really, and. How many of those are there that exist in town, you know what I mean, and what is the? I think we get hung up on it, Out of
I'm
fear.
sure, like, how big is the Rogers parcel in East Woodstock?
It's pretty big, but a lot of it's not developed
Yeah.
because there's a big
Like that back.
PCD plume that was coming from there at one point.
Okay.
And so they just.
I remember like 40 acres, does that sound?
I can look it up.
Okay,
but-
well, Amy's probably got.
And
it,
there's, I mean, there's a
But,
big number of 40-acre parcels. in
Yes,
town.
there are.
But I used to
There
know.
are probably hundreds.
Right,
Correct.
but are they on ledge, are
Yeah,
they
well, right.
near a
right.
road,
But-
are
but,
they?
yeah,
you
and
know what I
how
mean?
much,
Like-
like, how much are, and Line Master is significantly smaller than that. I mean, that's just in that wedge of. Property.
And there's concerns about how much water the industry uses
Mm-hmm.
because we just don't have copious amounts of water that we could. And we certainly would not be a ideal place for a AI center.
And that's the
Just-
thing, Woodstock would never be an ideal place for, it would be a niche, unique type of thing. You're never gonna get an Amazon, you're never gonna get, you know what I mean, like.
Never
Right.
say never.
Oh, don't say
Never
that.
say never, because
Yeah.
then there's the zoning by owning thing and you just. buy the
Well,
parcel
then
and put the
then
building.
we make sure that you could never have over, like a maximum size building, can you do that, or no?
There is. and it's on
Yeah, so then you
regulations
say we
now.
don't want
Right,
any
yeah.
industry
That-
with a building
that's-
over
that's
this,
the
you
big
don't,
box
right,
track thing.
Yeah,
The other-
whole package. See what you get.
Who owns that Woodstock Airport?
The one in South,
Which one?
yeah,
the one
on
right up on
169.
169?
Across from me. the
Yeah,
one-
169.
It's been on the market. I'm not
The
sure.
one on,
Off again right now. I think it might be a seasonal removal.
I got a call from a guy,
That'd be a great.
because I
place
think,
for a group of
I think
businesses.
Roland's airport might be on the market also.
Oh, it is,
It
yeah.
is.
that is-
I got a call from a guy who
His
wants,
barn.
to, explore the opportunity of doing essentially a private airport condo thing. Which I think that I've seen these in New Hampshire.
There's one down, there's one,
Um,
I believe, down in the Newtown area.
Okay.
As I know.
Or Oxford, yeah, where, so you've got, it's basically a little airstrip. And then you basically line both ends of it with houses.
Yep.
With a hangar-sized garage. And it's basically like a little condo community where people can fly in and out.
That could be good for ecotourism.
Yeah, I mean,
Come in for the
yeah.
weekend, fun on their private plane.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, unless you live here and then you've got all these extra planes flying in, and that's, I mean, can you limit how many traffic with that kind of stuff?
So I live right underneath Tucson, so he
Oh.
takes off in the helicopters at all hours, all the time, and you.
And I hear him when he flies over my
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about what happened to Middletown, Rhode Island, when they didn't let people live there, but when they expanded
Uh-huh.
the Newport Airport.
Yeah.
Just got a whole lot noisier, and then with tourist planes and they
DeAndre,
pushed back on that. But,
Marlboro and Chester have it, and we started with 4 houses and then they went up to 12. 12 people having, you had to have a plane to live there.
Yeah.
12 was a little bit too much. 4 to
Okay.
8 wasn't bad, but 12 started causing problems.
In Marlboro?
Marlboro, Connecticut.
Yeah. I don't think anyone lives on the Chester Airport.
No, there are houses over there.
The house is nearby, but there's,
You need to have your own flight there.
Is anyone interested in the top 25 taxpayer countdown?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just saying, so. Number one taxpayer is actually the nudist colony, Laurel Ridge. Which shocked the crap out of me. And then it goes, the Jeff goes to the industrial park, it's several parcels of the industrial park. And then it's the Christopher Marks Castle, then Line Master, then Rogers. Then we have farms, it's Valley Side and Millers. The Harrisville apartments are after that. And then we have an independent landowner, a whole bunch of different properties, not commercial, not, you know what I mean, which is number, what, 7 or 8, which I thought was
and who is that
shocking.
person?
Jay Bentley,
I don't know Jay Bentley. You know Jay Bentley?
Carrie Bentley's brother, Jay Bentley, I do. He owns, like, I mean, the list is long, but he's,
Is he a speculator or does he just own the property?
he owns and, I don't know, he's on it, but he's there and he lives in one and his houses, I don't know what the deal is, it's private land.
Like inherited a bunch from his
He did.
dad.
And then we do farms, again, a big chunk of farms, and then you have like Maurice Bernardi, who owns 200 acres on Bungie Hill, you're just like an independent, rich person with lots of land. And then Chase, and then the Carlone private land on Town Farm, then Treehouse, another farm, Grosse Hill Farm is next, and then Pinecrest Ridge Apartments. And then there's 3 private landowners, high-end homes, and then the country store, the Valley Country Store. And then 2 more private homes, and then Meadowside. So those are your tops.
And that was 25?
Yeah, that's what it says on the thing, but
The
like,
country store before or after the gas station went in?
that's
Cause it's,
after.
that's
So it's-
it's not little, they just so low down on the list, I think it'd be paying higher taxes than,
Or just that other people pay more?
they must own a lot
Yeah.
more land than just.
so it's
It's a
based off
pretty-
assessment, so
it's a
you know what I
pretty
mean, like,
small
there's your,
Parcel.
Yeah.
Pretty packed in, so
It's very interesting,
the value is.
yeah, they really are, the farmers really are supporting us, it's no joke, the amount of,
It's not
yeah.
just a statistic.
And then personal property wise, that was harder to figure out because. The personal property is in a private name and it's not associated to like an address. But, so number 1 by a landslide is Connecticut Light and Power.
Yeah, they're in almost every town, they're the highest.
I mean, it's landslide. And then Rogers, Peak Brook Jeffco Line Master, so there's your industry or the next, and then you have the Youngs, the Millers and the Fair Homes, so again, it's farms, and then there's several like, there's a farm credit leasing. And then there's a bunch of different names that I can't get, some of the businesses I could pull, the Valley Store is one, Harrisville Golf Course, Taylor Brook. Peak Brook Veterinary and the Inn, the rest of them I could not associate who is what. But I thought it was very interesting to look at that. I wanted to kind of run through, so I think we talk about taxes and economics, but we don't understand what those drivers really are.
So in terms of commercial development. I'm hearing business support, so the farms themselves. Tractors and equipment dealers and repairs, vets. And then agritourism stuff, other supporting businesses.
Right, and you know, think,
Well, like feed stores.
are there
Yeah.
ag support things? Maybe we don't have that ag in this town, and I'm not sure what I'm saying, but support the ag industry, like,
Like what?
I.
Well, as a number of working farms declined, the Putnam store went out. of
Farmers
business.
Co-op,
Yeah,
right.
Farmers Co-op went out of business because they lost.
Well, that, and you
Yeah.
have Runnings and Tractor Supply and Mackey's, I know, but.
Mackey's helped with.
Well, and most of
nail
the
and
supplies
polish.
that the farms get are not from local businesses.
Not anymore, no.
Yeah.
Or you don't go to Bosquet's to buy the type of tractor
No.
that they're running these days.
No, you go to Pennsylvania and drive it home.
Right.
My concern, and I don't know if this is the right group to address it, but, all different, you see this in the cities and it's in the news about Boston moving things out of Providence and out of Connecticut and big businesses moving out of the state. And one of the reasons they move is because they have to go back to paying full taxes, that their tax incentives went away.
Yeah.
And so Boston's offering them new tax incentives and they leave. And I remember, I never checked to see if it really happened, but I remembered around 2000, and Jean, you might remember this too, when Rogers was threatening to leave. And Ed Newman was advocating very strongly to cut their taxes again so that they wouldn't, so that they would stay, because they were such a critical thing. But it's like, if you're not paying taxes, how critical are you?
Right.
Well, jobs, local jobs.
But at that point, there were like 3 people who lived in Woodstock
But
that were working there.
you could also cut your taxes an amount and there's still a top taxpayer. It's not like you're
Right.
saying no tax, you know what I mean? So
Oh,
there's
no,
a balance.
The 5-year waiver.
Oh, no, that's not.
So I would say a number of communities, almost,
Yeah,
maybe more than not. Municipalities do have some tax abatement program for proactive investment, not necessarily as an extortionary tactic to get people to stay every 2 years or something like that. But if we were working on this in a number of towns where if you are making $1 million plus investment in the community, we will ramp up your property taxes on that investment over 5 or 7 years or something like that.
well, that's
Which is,
different. That's a
yes,
slow
right.
increase, but it's an increase over something that had been low before. It's not we'll keep it low.
Yeah,
or
no,
drop
oh,
it
yeah,
down.
oh, please don't leave,
Right,
you know.
right, which is what often happens.
So let's think about the question this way. What business would possibly want to come and invest $1 million in putting it into Woodstock? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what type of people want to be here and what businesses that they own that they could put here? You know what I mean? Like Blind Master's a unique thing.
I think this is when you get into the market. Okay, so, well, number one, probably all of the communities in surrounding you that the business would be looking at also will also offer the same thing.
Right.
Do you
And
know what Eastford offered Woodcraft when they came in 25 years ago?
No zoning.
Did they-
That's
did they offer them
exactly
anything?
what they offered them.
No.
I imagine they,
Asking.
I don't imagine they did, but I don't know. I think that was all,
It was a pre-existing.
I know
Yeah.
Industrial Palette only moved to Eastford because there was no zoning. That
Yeah.
was their main in.
but my point being that, someone looking at Woodstock sees something other than a super competitive tax
Right.
policy. Like there's something about Woodstock that appeals to probably their owner, CEO, or their workforce. Like there's something about, like you drop a pin, draw a 10-mile radius and okay, we've got the workforce here. That, so playing that, we'll drop your taxes by another, 15% or something like that. It's not a particularly winning game, I don't think. But
Yeah, if we're talking about expanding businesses, what's the status of our industrial park as far as tenants? Is it full?
There's one for sale right now, 30 Crabtree's for sale.
yep, and that's the guy that was
Sports
looking at
guy.
doing the sports.
You go anywhere with that?
They said they were putting together an application.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the reason I asked that was if it's full, we ought
Yeah.
to be thinking about either expanding it,
Mhm.
which you can't, or have an auxiliary industrial park someplace else.
Is that facility at the corner of 198 and 197 occupied, doing anything?
Eastford Tool and Die?
Was that Ivanhoe?
Eastford Tool and Die.
Yeah.
It's a
Bike club.
motorcycle clubhouse.
It's a bike club. It has been for years.
Oh, it has been, I don't know, I
Yeah.
go by there, there's never anybody in the parking lot, so.
That explains why they're eating on Sunset.
You need to go on, I've told you need to go on like a Tuesday night after 7. Something like that. That's when that's their clubhouse
Bike
night.
club.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a biker place.
But has there ever been any thought to having another?
I think that's an
industrial
interesting,
park?
yeah. And well,
Part of the issue is
I-
there's no water anywhere else,
Sewer.
sewer connection.
I understand that,
Well-
but,
Terry,
But
you know.
where?
Chapman,
Where?
Chapman's.
No. But nothing outside of South Woodstock.
Yeah, oh, right, no. Yeah, but if you're, I mean, if you're looking for a chunk of land that is near the existing industrial park that has public utilities that could be developed.
Not gonna win that fight. He's way
Yeah,
up top on
Miller's
that
also
taxpayer
has
list,
sewer
that's the way he
there,
is.
You get even higher.
I know.
But I mean, that's, you know, basically
The
the
only-
answer to Joe's question is, I'm not aware of serious talks about it, but that's the next question is, yeah, we could look at expanding or putting in a new one, but where?
Mhm.
And that's when you sort of have to make those.
So you want it near a sewer line. Or an extension of the existing sewer line,
So you're talking South Woodstock
yes,
on 169 or 171?
yes.
Remember that in the sewer, Putnam, you have an intermunicipal agreement with Putnam. How much more flow is Putnam gonna let?
We're about 70% from what I've heard.
Putnam's okay. They
They don't have a problem.
don't have a problem with capacity. They're not killing like.
No, it's not Putnam having a problem with capacity. You have an intermunicipal agreement with Deep that was signed between the towns.
Yeah.
You're only allowed so much more.
Right,
flow.
well, that can be renegotiated, as long as they can handle it safely, Deep's not gonna have any problem
You
with,
usually
with the
can't
towns.
negotiate those.
Tell them what you do for a living.
So back in 1988, we tried to negotiate that with 7 towns. Deep put us back in the hole and said no. And
When you
had
say
to
we
take-
tried to negotiate.
It was the town of East Hampton, the town of Marlborough, the town of East Haddam, the town of Colchester, the town of Hebron, and Chester.
Uh-huh.
And we were in the intermunicipal agreement that was signed in 1981. And it's called joint facilities, and I worked there for a very long time. And I ran the sewer side. It's not as easy as when East Haddam wanted to include the lake, they couldn't. Marlborough wanted to do more of the lake, they couldn't. We could only handle so much flow. Can the plant handle it? Yes, the plant can, but we were not allowed. Town spent oodles of millions of dollars fighting Deep. No, this is all we can. Because remember, all that waste gets cleaned and goes somewhere.
Mhm.
It goes to the Connecticut River, and they're trying to change that, and PFAS is a major issue right now with wastewater. Gene knows that, and it's coming down to the water plant, so I love the expansion, but just make sure the plant in Putnam just got rebuilt.
Yep.
So they may be able to handle it, but they may not be able to allow you to take it.
And the
And the
other thing,
I is an issue in Woodstock.
if you're taking water out of the ground in an already stressed, water system and then bypassing that water system. and
Right, you're
going
exporting
directly-
your water.
Excuse me?
You're exporting your water.
Yeah, you're exporting the water, you're pumping it out of the ground and bypassing the lower part of Little River, and that might be an issue.
You guys keep
Because they
talking,
already have flow issues.
you guys keep talking industrial parks, well, professional parks, I don't hear you mention that, do you like, I like professional parks.
So when you go back
Right.
to what industry does actually work, professional buildings
Because-
are an industry that
What
work.
got me, when, John said drop the dot, oh, you drop the dot, you got Pomfrey, you got Killen, you got all these people that would drive 10, 15 miles to come to work at a nice professional park. So, where you might not have the industrial, and I think, water and sewer, I think it's less on a professional park than
Yeah.
an industrial park. Move on.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of East Hampton, there's actually, there's a really interesting model for business parks where a guy has been basically going up and down the Route 66 corridor. Building-
Ran,
Wayne,
yeah, and John.
building these basically metal buildings that are like, you know, multi-tenant things that are. What do you wanna do here? Do you wanna do, you know, have a seed store? Sure. You wanna have a microbrewery? Sure. You wanna have a ballet gym? Sure. Like, and they can like swap it out. And so it's just like, and that's a great way to transition from home business to a larger
We
thing.
used to call strip malls.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's more, it's less consumer driven. It's more professional sort of office, although, yeah, my first two examples were strip malling, but yes. But yeah, it's that spirit, but it can be, you know, it doesn't depend on traffic counts necessarily, so it's not like a true
Alright,
strip.
so let's, cause we're running out of time, I feel like we're not really getting anywhere, so I have. Like support agriculture, enhance tourism, flexibility with existing structures and thought about professional park options. As topics which we have. Favorable or should look into, right? We wanna support agritourism business. We mentioned, like wellness type of thing.
Yeah.
Like a spa.
Like a spa or a retreat, and then we need to focus on like accommodations.
Mhm.
On that token, I'm gonna pose a question. Putnam is trying to position itself as the regional downtown, right?
PM,
So,
I coined that.
and I love that, right? Because it is the downtown, right? You know what I mean? Like, we're never gonna have downtowns that can do as much as Putnam. My question is, how do we benefit out of that? I think, you know what I mean? Like, so the only thing I can come up with is you want to stay in Woodstock, you know what I mean? You rent your STR, your Airbnb, and you know, you wanna do this, but you're close to the downtown, so. Accommodations, I think, are important if they're gonna be that source, and then we need to work out some sort of joint type of advertising with places in Putnam so that people who are in the downtown go, wow, there's this great store in Woodstock and we need to advertise ourselves enough so that we get those people out of there. But that's something that they're moving forward with, and as far as economic development, we should be on that train instead of ignoring that train in my thought process.
So, yeah. Along those lines, the question I was gonna ask the group is, what's missing here? That would be a benefit to the residents of Woodstock that Putnam can't do, or, you know, can't do as well or as conveniently or something like that, you know, because, yeah, you're not gonna, I mean, from traffic counts, from existing infrastructure, they have 395, they have.
Right.
Right, they.
It's a great place of activity.
Right.
I would never wanna stay anywhere.
Right,
but so
and
accommodations
so
being as close
anything,
as-
anything retail, anything, you know, industrial that depends on a highway or depends on traffic counts, Woodstock is never gonna compete.
Correct.
But are there, so we're, you know, why can't we do a Whole Foods here? Well, you know, there's a bunch of reasons.
Our recreation is
Right,
awesome.
but
We
yeah,
can
so
sell
what are
recreational-
those things that you can't do in Putnam that Woodstock is better suited to?
Well, that's
from a
where
business.
you brought up wedding venues.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
a lot of people like to come to Woodstock to get
Mhm.
married. I had people at my own wedding 30 years ago who asked me how I found such a quaint little place. So yeah, that is definitely,
Well, and there are certainly
Come
plenty,
on in, come sit
there's
down.
that place in, Thompson, right over the dam.
the manor.
Oh, no, the new one, it's something Croft,
Yeah.
Yeah,
something Woodcroft.
well, but I
whatever
mean,
called.
it's essentially just
Fine.
a farmhouse.
I know what.
And they do weddings,
Yeah,
and they're very
Oh.
busy,
Yeah, this is.
Hey.
yeah.
yeah, and there's a big one that opened in Hampton a while ago, on it's fixed.
So we're sitting here, like, event venues, we have a public hearing coming up in a couple of weeks, right? You can't talk over us though. So there's pros and cons to that, right? A lot of times in the town of Woodstock, people, maybe it's the way they're doing it, but like, there are people trying to open venues and they're being told no, or, you know, like, you say weddings and the town goes, wait, you know, alcohol and liability or live music and no, why? So we have to find some sort of, you know, understanding where we're saying that it's a great opportunity for us, but does the town agree that that's going to happen and support it and let it be? So there's a disconnect that needs to be addressed one way or the other, however we decide.
Well, I think that's why.
And how many can we support too? Like without
Sure.
accommodations, we can't support very many.
No, but I think that's why it's important to
Yeah.
highlight sort of what would,
Just making sure.
what would be the necessities of like any economic development to allow it to happen.
Right.
And what would make it acceptable or
If we put
okay.
in our PS,
So that whole list.
don't have a hotel that would support these things, someone might say, aha, an opportunity.
I don't think hotel, but if we had the bed and breakfasts that we used to have, do you know, what? Do we push going full cycle? Because we had things that existed that worked. Is that gonna come back? Is it worth, you know, saying these were here in the past, this is the type of accommodation that fits in our character, this is, you know, and then trying to work on that, like, do we guide in that direction? 'Cause I don't think anyone wants a hotel in town, again, that would be a highway, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tiny home cabins.
Well, but when the Senexa house came up on the market, I called up a couple friends and said, you wanna get back into the B&B
Right,
business, you should go check this out.
and that would have been an amazing bed and breakfast, yeah.
Mhm.
I agree.
And
It's having enough money, cause.
we have to understand too,
There.
we can't. But like, we're just saying this is what we are interested in having, what we're going to allow, what we encourage. We have all these great ideas, but the people that own them might never have those ideas, but we're just trying to set that path in that direction.
And show the value of it and the
Yes.
ability to have it and still maintain Woodstock as Woodstock.
I think overcoming our fears is the biggest part of developing anything in any way forward. to be honest.
Educational too, you got the dinosaur park, but you know, where you don't want amusement that makes a lot of noise, but you wanna bring the kids, you got more than a void set. For educational, get the,
Yeah,
you know, I mean, if it's
Yeah.
right,
That's
dinosaur.
not here.
Oh, okay.
We have state forest.
Look, I've
like
missed that. My kid was so into dinosaurs too.
That raises the
Yeah.
point that what Woodstock does have to offer is the walking, is the hiking, is the biking, is
The
the
recreational.
Yep.
passive recreational stuff.
And
Our freedom as a-
we have lots of trails that aren't maintained, so if that's a focus of the town, then we need to talk to the land trust and talk to the people that are in, and get people to maintain them, so they are actually appealing. We
Right.
have them, you know what I mean, so that's a plan for going forward too, but there's lots of steps that we have to.
The last thing I would just note and maybe ask as sort of a question is, I mean, housing is economic development.
For a builder, yeah.
Well, no, and
No.
people, you know, people generate taxes. You know, people living in town generate taxes, their activity, their cars,
Is Woodstock Building Associates still in Woodstock or are they, Thompson?
their.
No,
They're
they're
just in the
they're
triangle.
still in Woodstock. They're still in Woodstock.
The Bermuda Triangle.
I mean,
That plaza is in Thompson.
Doug told me he was paying Woodstock taxes on that, so I don't know.
It's
I
then the
think that-
Bermuda
I
Triangle.
think Mackey's is in Woodstock,
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that,
because there was a.
that
But
half
it's a
of the.
diagonal. there.
Right,
Yeah, I
but the
think
village
that
went there
happens.
because it was Thompson, so it has to, it's the same
Well, the
building.
village was there because it was questionable and thus he could get a liquor
Right.
license.
Right. Right,
That's
and
why.
there was a package store there when Woodstock didn't have a package store, right, that was the.
That
Well,
was the far-
Yeah, package store moved down the street,
It's
but
right
yeah.
there. And I've been in the salon that's above the package
Uh-huh.
store. Well, a hairdresser was trying to give directions. And she was like, this is what you need to put in, even though this is our.
Well, yeah.
and
Right,
this is
yeah,
what's on
it's
the
one of
site.
those.
GPS,
Yeah.
thinks we're in this town.
It is.
So,
But there's,
okay, in any case,
Yes.
I stand with Jean on her point that it's primarily an economic development for
Yes.
builders. And if they've got their offices out of town, they're not paying taxes on that.
Oh,
And we
I'm
all
not talking
seem-
about, I'm not talking about the building construction. I'm talking about having people live here is an economic driver.
Yes, but even better than maybe,
cost of community services.
There you
or-
go.
yeah, that's-
There-
Flawed.
no,
but
no.
I just find it
Decades
interesting that
worth
we're
of
saying that's not economic development, but this majority was paying our taxes and that is the majority of our
But, yeah.
economy.
You're right, but
So,
we cost more than we.
Yeah.
we do.
Well, but I'd also note the declining household size numbers and our aging numbers, and fewer people in Woodstock have, you know, kids, let alone large numbers of kids.
Yes, but now we need increased ambulatory centers.
Sure.
All right, can we agree that housing is part of economic development, whether it's good or bad? It's something that we can't ignore in this town because it's the majority of our tax base and it's something that it is. Oh, yeah,
Well, it's a big
good, bad or ugly,
discussion.
yeah.
We give a tax break with every vasectomy.
Welcome.
Okay, obviously you're not a mom.
On that note, I think that, you know, we all have an idea about this discussion. If there are things that you want to further add to it, email them to myself or to John, and he will consider that as
Yeah.
we move forward.
And again, we still have a couple of months of our
Yeah.
process before we get to the economic development stuff, but, yeah.
So we'll just go over that first section. I mean, what you
I-
present next time will be enough. for
I think
our-
that'll be pretty meaty.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Um,
when's our next meeting? December.
December
that first.
fourth?
It would be that Thursday, it would be the fourth.
Yeah,
Yep. The 4th at 6.
Would you like me to make a motion?
Yeah, I will take that.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.